If you ask any Muslim which book is the most important to them, they will always tell you that the Quran is the holiest and most significant book of Islam. But surely, you must be curious about how this text came into existence, what its content is like. Let's find out in this video. From an ancient period, the Arabs worshipped a deity they called Allah. Then in the year 570, in Mecca, now part of modern-day Saudi Arabia, the Prophet Muhammad was born. In 610, one day like any other, Muhammad climbed a hill in his homeland for contemplation. The archangel Gabriel appeared before Muhammad and said, "Recite, in the name of Allah, who created man from a clot of blood. Recite, the most gracious, who taught man by the pen what he did not know." Due to fear, Muhammad kept these words to himself, although he continued to receive many instructions from angels. Upon his wife's advice, he started preaching Islam in Mecca. Threatened, in 622, Muhammad and his followers had to move to Medina. This marked the first year of the Islamic calendar. He quickly became the leader of the majority in the city. In 630, Mecca was conquered by the Muslims. In 632, Muhammad breathed his last in Medina. During his lifetime, the Prophet received teachings from Allah through the angel Gabriel for over 2 decades. While alive, the Prophet prevented followers from writing down what he spoke, encouraging them instead to memorize the words of Allah, namely the Quran. It was only preserved orally, passed from one person to another. After Muhammad's death, Muslims felt their holy book might be lost if they didn't urgently collect and retrieve the original texts. Thus, there was a need for skilled individuals to compile all the texts into a single scripture. The first authoritative figure to take on this task was Abu Bakr, Muhammad's father-in-law and the first caliph to succeed him. He also became the first caliph to unify the Arabian Peninsula, turning it into a starting point for the expansion of Islam worldwide. Soon after, Abu Bakr unexpectedly passed away, leaving the responsibility to his successor, Umar Khattab, a brilliant military strategist. In just 10 years, he expanded the territory of Islam across the Middle East and North Africa. However, due to his focus on military matters, the second caliph neglected the task of editing the Quran. Fortunately, the third caliph, Uthman bin Affan, paid attention to restoring the Quran. In 657, 25 years after Muhammad's death, Caliph Uthman announced the official Quran of all Muslims. The compilers made identical copies, storing them in 4 cities: Medina, Basra, Kufa, and Damascus. Later, Uthman ordered the destruction of all previous handwritten copies, similar to the actions of Roman Emperor Constantine, who ordered the destruction of all holy books and relics of Jesus in 325. Some handwritten copies survived on animal skins. 2 are preserved in Uzbekistan, 1 in Turkey, 1 in the London Museum, and another found in Yemen in 1979. Comparing these surviving copies to the Quran published by Uthman in 657 reveals considerable differences. Nevertheless, most present-day Muslims do not address these issues, maintaining their belief in the authenticity of the Quran as a divine message revealed to Muhammad by Allah. When reading the Quran, you'll find significant references to key figures in Judaism and Christianity, such as Abraham, Moses, Jesus, connecting the religious thoughts from monotheistic beginnings through the prophets. Islam is the third monotheistic religion to emerge after Judaism and Christianity. Before the Quran, the Arab people felt culturally inferior. Thus, they showed respect to Jews and Christians. In Arabic, Jews and Christians are collectively referred to as people of the Holy Book. Over 6 centuries after Jesus completed his mission on earth, the Quran appeared. The Arab nations were proud as they now had a scripture written in Arabic. The Quran and Islam played crucial roles in providing spiritual inspiration and cultural cohesion, turning the Arab world into a powerful political and military force for many centuries. The Quran is considered sacred by Muslims, to the extent that some cleanse their bodies before touching a copy. These copies are wrapped in fabric, kept in safe places or buried in mosques or Muslim cemeteries. If a copy is burned, the ashes are buried or scattered on water. Generally, the Quran is much shorter than the Christian Bible. Most estimates suggest that the Quran is about 1.5 times the length of the New Testament and 3/4 the length of the Old Testament. What makes the Quran unique is that it's not exactly a prose poem, but rather a prose work with a rhythm and rhyme suitable for the literary taste of travelers in the wilderness. For this reason, the Quran quickly spread orally among the Arab tribes. Many believed it couldn't be copied in another language or form. Additionally, the Arabic language is polysemic, depending on context, making translators struggle when interpreting the Quran. Nevertheless, due to the need to propagate Islam over 14 centuries, the Quran has been translated into many languages worldwide. The first translation of the Quran into a Western language occurred in 1143. This translation was from Arabic to Latin and is still preserved in the Cluny Abbey in Italy. Thanks to this translation, Europe became aware of the holy book of Islam. Muslims also brought their Quran onto architectural structures, lanterns in mosques, metalwork, ceramics, and more. That's a summary of the history of its emergence, significance, content, and the spread of the Quran. The Quran has the ability to provide useful insights to non-Muslims and brings everything to Muslim believers. What about you? Do you agree with this opinion? Leave your comments. Like and subscribe to our channel to encourage us to create more videos on this topic. For now, goodbye, and see you again.